Hello friends, just 4 days ago on July 13th, Ukraine made military history once again and almost no one noticed. Because an unmanned vessel crossed the Dnipro estuary undetected and ran aground on a beach on the Kimburn Peninsula, which has been occupied by the Russians since June 2022, a ramp lowered and from inside rolled out a robot armed with a .50 caliber machine gun which moved to a certain point. From there, it opened fire on Russian positions. No Ukrainian soldier set foot on that beach. The unit responsible was the 123rd Territorial Defense Brigade, which described the action as the world's first fully robotic amphibious combat mission. This milestone is the culmination of a doctrine that Ukraine has been developing for over a year, and today we are going to analyze it through the development of the company DevDroid and its family of combat robots. One of which, for example, single-handedly held an infantry position for 45 days near Kharkiv. Ukraine has been facing a structural personnel crisis since the end of 2025. There are units at the front operating with barely 30% of their intended strength, brigades running out of infantry to cover the positions of their defensive lines, a recruitment deficit of tens of thousands of soldiers compared to what is actually needed to replace the losses. This occurs amid a critical demographic issue. Russia's population is 3 times larger than Ukraine's, so each Ukrainian soldier lost or wounded matters proportionally more than each Russian casualty. The conclusion is that Ukraine can survive the loss of hundreds or thousands of robots, but it cannot afford to keep losing experienced soldiers. From this reality, the doctrine of robotic replacement was born, which is no longer just an experiment, since during 2025, Ukraine set out to manufacture 15,000 unmanned ground vehicles and produced around 10,000. And although it did not reach the goal, it produced 20 times as many units as in 2024. For this year, the stated goal is 50,000 units, and everything indicates that the target will be surpassed. Today, at least 200 different models of drones produced by about 40 Ukrainian manufacturers are operating on the front lines, and 99% of the ground robots in use are domestically produced, having completed nearly 24,500 missions. Just in the first quarter of 2026, more than 9,000 of them in March. The number of Ukrainian units operating UGV systems went from 67 in November 2025 to 167 in March 2026. In 4 months, ground robots went from being niche equipment to becoming standard issue for many brigades. And the goal doesn't stop there, since the commander of the 3rd Army Corps, Andriy Veletsky, stated that he wants to replace a third of his frontline infantry with robots before the end of this year. And this is where DevDroid comes in, a company founded in 2023 in the midst of the war by a team led by Yuri Paritsky, and which follows the profile we already know from the Break Brave 1 ecosystem. A young company born out of a concrete operational need with development cycles of only months instead of years, and direct contact with frontline units to get feedback on the performance of their systems. But DevDroid has a particular feature, since it doesn't manufacture just one product, but rather produces a whole family of systems that can carry out missions ranging from direct combat against the invaders to medical evacuation of wounded fighters from frontline positions. The workhorse is the Droid TW 12.7 system attract robot about the size of a four-wheeler, equipped with the Wally 12.7 combat module, which mounts nothing less than an M2 Browning .50 caliber machine gun with a combat range of up to 1,000 meters. The system has an operational speed of 7 kilometers per hour, an operating range of 25 kilometers, and a total cost, including the control unit, of about $30,000. In other words, for the cost of a Javelin missile, DevDroid can produce 9 armed robots capable of replacing soldiers on the front line. Now, Firing a Browning from a remotely controlled station is not a trivial thing, since the recoil is very strong. If you don't believe me, just ask the Russian who had trouble controlling the torque of an anti-aircraft machine gun. But I'm getting off topic. This is where artificial intelligence comes in, since the robot has an onboard agent that takes care of keeping the whole system balanced while firing, as well as dodging obstacles and correcting its route during navigation to its target if necessary. And in January of this year, DevDroid took another leap by integrating an optimal 3-camera system with target detection and identification assisted by EIA, whose daytime camera can detect enemy personnel up to 1,000 meters away. The robot is now more than a remotely operated weapon. It can also identify and designate targets for its operator. The incident, which proved that DevDroid's robots could carry out combat missions on the front line, lasted for 45 days. On the Kharkiv front, where a TW 12.7 was deployed to replace an entire infantry team, defending a crossroads that Ivan was determined to take. To drive away the invaders, each day the robot advanced to the position to monitor Russian movements and provide suppressive fire when the orcs tried to approach. And at nightfall, the unit would withdraw to a covered location to recharge and receive maintenance. For a month and a half, it managed to prevent the invaders from advancing in that sector with 0 human casualties, since the operator was 10 kilometers away in a protected position. In another incident during February, a unit from the 32nd Mechanized Brigade used the Droid TW 7.62, which is equipped with a machine gun of that caliber, but also has an integrated ballistic computer and an autonomous target detection agent to identify, lock onto, and take down 2 Russian soldiers at about 300 meters, all from a safe position. These 2 invaders were the first confirmed to be deputinized by the robot.
Sistema.
Let's move on now to the second member of the family, the Droid NW40, which is adapted to carry a weapons station. Equipped with an American Mk-19 automatic grenade launcher, 40 millimeters capable of firing up to 1,500 meters. And it was the first ground reconnaissance and attack robot to receive NATO codification from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. And it supports 6 types of communication, including Starlink, LTE, and mesh networks, to adapt and survive in different electronic warfare environments. Its mission is to destroy personnel and light armored vehicles located up to 1.5 kilometers away. The model generated so much interest that it was even presented at the BDEX 2026 fair to European armies. Now, what makes DevDroid's products different? Well, they are designed from the start as modular systems. For example, the Droid Raw 12.7 was originally created as a logistics robot to carry supplies and evacuate the wounded, but it was turned into a hybrid platform. By mounting the Wall E combat module on it, the same vehicle that delivers ammunition at night can then enter combat during the day. They have also opted for a common control system called Droid Box, which is essentially a universal control brain that is available for any manufacturer to integrate into their own robots, thus saving up to 6 months of software development. With this, DevDroid has indicated that it wants to become the Android of Ukrainian military robotics. And the next step has already been announced, which will be a heavy platform armed with a weapon station equipped with a 30mm autocannon designed for assault and direct fire support. Although the growth has been explosive, ground robots are still a fraction of Ukrainian unmanned systems, most of which are aerial. Those with fewer mobility limitations can move faster and don't get stuck on obstacles in their path. To be precise, what's emerging is not a kind of Terminator-style robotic army, but rather a kind of combined arms system, in which the UGV advances to harass the Russians and force them to reveal their position, which is detected by reconnaissance drones to be neutralized by attack drones and bomber drones. The best part is the whole process is managed by a person drinking coffee 10 kilometers from the front. If there aren't enough soldiers, machines are placed in the trenches. If there aren't enough doctors, robots are sent to the red zones. If every soldier is irreplaceable, they're replaced by something that's mass-produced and lost without human cost. In 12 months, we went from the first robotic defensive position to the first combined robotic assault, and now to the first amphibious landing carried out entirely by machines. The war manuals for the next decade are being written right now, in real time, and they're being written by the defenders. Will there still be manned trenches? Of course, but alongside them there are already robotic defense lines. Thank you. For those who want to see additional content, we invite you to subscribe to our Patreon, where for just $1, you'll have access to uncensored war videos. Visit our store and discover items from Ukraine's distinguished units. Each purchase directly supports United 24, contributing to reconstruction, civil aid, and defense. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel